up with your mood swings. What is trouble in your mind? Are you doing this just to test me? I'm mad at handling this type of thing. Why I don't get it, you say it's a man thing. Babe, I wanna be around. I just wanna make your heart sing. But you're not letting me get through to you. If you let your guard down, baby, this is what I'll do. I'll do. Come on, baby. Love you, I will love you, I will love you like a queen. I'm willing to take you to a place you've never been. Love you, I will love you, I will love you like a queen. I would love to take you to a place you've never been. What is trouble in your mind? Baby, why can't you just tell me? I just wanna be your bride. Wanna be. I wanna give our love wings. You're not letting me, get through to you. Yeah. If you let your guard down, baby, this is what I'll do. I'll do. Love you, I will love you, I will love you like a queen. I'm willing to take you to a place you've never been. Love you, I will love you, I will love you like a queen. I would love to take you to a place you've never been before.
NathanIvey.com. Mr. Ivy know the show must go on. As far as Cincinnati, man, I put on. Tunes made another flame beat for me to cook on. Raised arms, close fists, yeah, too strong. Team AI, chop it up at the chop shop. Top notch with the king flow, the hot shot. Cops watching, listen to the real. Jumping like hopscotch, nobody harder than, oh, no, think not. Not only citywide, but nationwide. Superlative, keep it locked like them Haitian guys. Put the truth in the airwaves, we talk about it. Brand new like the templates, let's be about it. Who got the info by the AM? Jono be the rapper, got them jamming when they play him. Staying in my lane, they ain't gotta okay him. Who the host with the scoop? Yeah, they gon' say him. Ivy, so superlative like a bag of Grippos. Show you where the bricks at, Cincinnati red tag. One time where my people at. Team NI where my people at. It's the 513, yeah, you know the flow. What's the word, Nate? Let them know the show. One time where my people at. Team NI where my people at.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome back. Hope you had a great weekend. The weekend is over. Unless you're retired, then the weekend never ends. Or is it the weekday never ends? Good morning to you. Welcome back to the last honest place in America. It's the Nathan Ivey Show. It's a wonderful place where nothing is funnier than the truth. Men are allowed, scratch that, men are expected to be men, and lames get their planes shot down like John McCain, the wise words of J Electronica. I'm Nathan Ivey, your host, your humble host. Welcome back. It's the only show where, listen, the currency of this show is your opinion. All I want to hear is your honest opinion. That's it. Good morning to you. Nathan Ivey, a.k.a. Flo Sinatra, a.k.a. M.A. Greatness, a.k.a. one man, one microphone, one mission, a.k.a. I.V. Straight Bar E, a.k.a. Nathan Luther King, a.k.a. Nathan Samuels. I'm going to go ahead and own it. Nathan Samuels, good morning to you. And welcome back. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. Yo, check it. Now, I want to start the show a little bit differently here. I had an interview with this woman right here. Her name is Cerise Castle on Friday. And I know many of you might have missed it. I'm going to play, not all of it. I'm going to play maybe about 30 minutes of it because I thought it was just very interesting. And the sister's showing so much courage that I wanted to show courage by supporting her. I first came across her. I know I'm looking grizzly. I didn't shave, but I'm grown. All right. I know somebody that like it. That's all that matters. But I saw the sister on the Breakfast Club. I thought it was one of the best interviews they'd done in a long time. They generally do great interviews every day, but I thought it was very interesting. And she is based in Los Angeles. Young sister, man. You can see her. She in her 20s or something. 30s, maybe early 30s. And she's working with an outfit called Knock LA, which I'm just becoming familiar with. And she did an investigative dive into deputy gangs. And you know, it's so funny, man, because in the black community, people have been talking about and saying for a long time that the biggest gangs are the police. And I'm like, word? First time I ever heard it was in like West Coast rap music. I was like, word? And through our investigation, it appears that it just might be true. Very interesting. I want you to see it for yourself. If you've already seen it, great. You can watch it again. If not, come back in about 30 minutes and share it with your friends and family so they can check it out. But I thought it was very interesting. And she's based in L.A., but she even talked about Hamilton County and Cincinnati. You won't believe what she said about Cincinnati. This sister all the way in L.A., you won't believe what she said about Cincinnati. And oh, by the way, I've got some more news. My theory is based upon my experiences and my observations. I've been sharing this with you for about maybe like 2 or 3 years. I've been seeing people planting seeds around Cincinnati, and I've been saying over the last 2 to 3 years that Cincinnati is on the come up. Black Cincinnati is on the come up. It's completely possible that within 10 to 15 years, the Cincinnati will be an it city, will be a destination, perhaps for even black people. Right? There's so many seeds being planted. And over the weekend, I read an article, and yet something else is dope coming to the city of Cincinnati that you may not have heard about, but I'll share with you this morning. 513-873-7134. This is not your granddaddy Cincinnati. Cincinnati is changing every single day. We're still not there yet. But it's going to take a lot of intentionality and a lot of good people working independently and also together to make this happen. But I'm seeing good things from the city of Cincinnati. Who knows? I'll share it with you. Today marks the beginning of the confirmation process for Kentaji Brown-Jackson. She is the black woman who was nominated by Joe Biden. Does this change the way or alter or impact the way? I think I would put it that way. Does this impact the way that you look at Joe Biden? You know what I'm saying? Some might say this is nothing but identity politics. They just trying to put some black faces up there because they want you to vote for him again. Well, yeah, I'm sure they do want you to vote for him again. That's part of it. But this was a campaign promise. And I'd like to know if this is going to impact you. I also want to give you some ideas as to what to expect over the next couple of days of this Senate confirmation hearing. She's going to be confirmed, I believe, because the numbers are there. And at this point, nothing's come out about her record that would be so startling that would sway some of those votes either way. But this could swing the 6-3 majority that that the conservatives have right now on the Supreme Court. And oh, by the way, your boy's in them. Your man's in them, right? Your man's in the only black man on the Supreme Court. He's in the hospital right now. I wish him the best. I do not wish anything negative on Clarence Thomas. Apparently he had flu-like symptoms. But I'll be honest with you, when I read it, I was like, It could be interesting, but I wish nothing but the best speedy recovery for Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas. Even though his wife, How the fuck is you a Supreme Court justice and your wife was caught up with that January 6th nonsense? She was there. What in the hell? Man, listen, we'll talk about it. Good morning to you. Hope your weekend was well. If you missed it, Edna Howe streamed yesterday, Straight Talk Live at 10 a.m. She had a very interesting guest. She was talking about perfectionism. And it's something that I have suffered from. I fully admit it. Like, you want things to be absolutely perfect before you make a move and all this kind of stuff. I don't know. It's my Virgo brain or my superlative brain. I don't know what it is. But I thought it was very interesting and worth your time. It's up on Facebook right now. Check it out. And make sure you check out Christian Boykin today. He'll be streaming the Echo Chamber podcast. The brother's doing excellent work on a Monday evening, giving you something, making you think, giving you some strong black man's opinions about the world that we live in. Make sure you check them out. Echo Chamber Podcast, 8:30. Check them out today. All right. Good morning to you. How's everybody doing? How was your weekend? My weekend was superlative, man. It was a great weekend. It's a great weekend. I got it in every single day. The weather's changing, so now I'm getting back to my, my patterns before the winter interrupted it. And, I'm seeing changes every single day. So on that front, everything is good. On the family front, my son is deep into this game called 2K. And I don't really play it. I used to be into it, but he's so into it now. Now that's our thing. And we're having a lot of fun with that. The daughter is getting ready for prom. She's going to junior prom, so she was picking out dresses with the wifey and all that kind of stuff. The wifey's working fucking hard. She got multiple things she's got going on. Just a busy, black, average, everyday black family. You know what I'm saying? That's it. Getting the daughter ready for college, getting her son ready for second grade. That's it. That's it. Trying to be as healthy and prosperous in a very positive way as possible. That's it. I did see some interesting things over the weekend, including my streaming bill. Netflix needs to have their ass beat for what they doing. I am pissed at Netflix. All this money I've been giving you over the years. I remember when Netflix was like $4, $5, $7. Now they talking about some $20 damn, $16 for what? And you won't believe what Netflix is trying to do next. It's all a money grab. It's all a money grab, people. But I'll share it with you in just a couple of minutes if you're not hip to the game. 513-873-7134. I saw the latest episode of Bel Air, and they got me hooked. I'm like, every Thursday, we there. We got to check it out. It's a lot of fun there. All these dark-skinned people and shit. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. We may talk about something in one of the episodes, but I haven't really synthesized my thoughts yet. So give me a little bit of time. Could be interesting. I do have a relationship kind of topic that I developed over the weekend that we might get into. We might get into it. I plan on being with you maybe until about 9:30. I know you like, Nate, what's the 10? Well, I'm doing things differently these days. I'm here until as long as I got something to say. When I don't, I'm out. I don't feel the need to ascribe to trying to stretch things out just to fulfill some time constraint. No. I'm not doing all of that. But we never know. You never know. You never know. Good morning to you. What's that? Pick 4 straight, 3,999 on my way to the crypto discount buy. Is that right, Shaba? All right, man. Great, man. I'm glad you hit the number over the weekend. Okay, great. That's great. Listen, share, and share, because Facebook don't like me. They don't like me. I don't know why. I haven't done anything to Facebook. In fact, I promote Facebook. But they effing with the stream. I know it. It's okay. It's okay. Okay, we got a plan. We'll circumvent that very, very soon. But I want everybody to see this interview with this sister. You might have heard it already. And if you did, great. And if you didn't, great. Because, this would be cool for you. All right. Yeah, I see you, Charles. Yup. Brent writes, I love the Nathaniel Samuels segments. Right. Nate Samuels. Nathan Kevin Samuels, right? Y'all, leave that brother alone. That brother's doing great work for our community. But I want to play this for you. So her name is Cerise Castle. She's a reporter with Knock LA. That's a very unflattering screen, right? Her eyes are closed and all that kind of stuff. But we'll get it started in a second. And she is in the process of exposing something very interesting happening over in LA. Now you might be like, well, Nate, we in Cincinnati. Why should we care about it? Well, I would say as non-white people, we have an interest on what goes on with law enforcement anywhere in the country. It's a domino effect. You better believe it. And perhaps if there's something happening in LA, if there's something happening at another place of the country, maybe we can learn about it. Maybe we can get hip to the game before it becomes a problem in our own backyard. I'm a big believer in that. And at the very least, what she has to say is interesting. It might validate some of your concerns and fears. So I'm going to roll this on you for you. I want you to check this out. And I'll be back with you after the interview. Check it out.
Thoroughly investigate who these gangs are, what they want, that sort of thing. And I started doing that. I had also just taken a class that was offered for free by the Ida B. Wells Society about how to do in-depth investigations into government agencies. That's something that is still up on their website. I encourage everyone that is interested in this to check that out. So I had a new skill set that I had recently equipped myself with to do this. So the resulting product of that research is the 15-part series, Tradition of Violence.
Yeah, which is pretty in-depth, and I won't lie and say I've read it all, but it is pretty thorough and very interesting. And what's the website? Where can people find it again?
You can find all of that reporting as well as a database I built of with some great help from the folks at Knock LA, and that details all deputy gang members and alleged associates. And all of that is available at lasdgangs.com.
LASD gangs. And again, I want people to understand when you say deputy gangs, you're talking about law enforcement. You're talking about sheriff deputies. What was through your investigations, have you been able to find out what precipitated this? Like, have these gangs always been in LA, or was it a response to the street gangs, which we've heard so much about?
Yeah, I think when you look at the history going back, the Crips were the first gang that was founded here in the Los Angeles area. They were founded in 1969, actually in response to police violence that had been rampant in the community. I'm sure most people who are listening to this show may have heard a little thing about the so-called Watts riots that occurred in 1965. This was sort of a 30-year precursor to what happened in 1992, and then what happened almost 30 years exactly later in 2020. And essentially what happened was the police beat a young man, I forget his name, but a young black man who was driving home through the Compton area, the Watts area, and that led to, rebellion. And also, as a product of that rebellion, was the formation of community groups. And that community group, I forget what CRIP stands for, but it's Community Rising something. But the CRIPs were really a direct response to documented police violence that was happening in the area at the time. The first police gangs that we know about are about 4 years after the solid establishment of so-called street gangs in the Los Angeles area. And it's believed, and I think, I feel pretty confident saying that they are a direct response to street gangs that were, created to protect community members from police violence. The first instance where we saw deputy gangs was actually at a peaceful protest in the East Los Angeles area. It was a protest held by mostly Latino people in response to the Vietnam War, because young Latino men were the number one victim of, or I should say the number one domestic casualty. So the most American soldiers that were killed in the Vietnam War happened to be Latino. So there was a huge protest in response to this in the East Los Angeles area in 1970, and a deputy gang called the Little Devils was said to be at this protest. They shot a number of people. They killed a number of people, including a journalist who had been looking into this. His name was Ruben Salazar. And the night before he was killed at this protest, he had actually told his friends that he suspected that he was under police surveillance and that he would be attacked. Less than 24 hours later, he was killed.
Is there some of these names, Little Devils, Vikings, Executioners? What are some of the names of these deputy gangs?
Yeah, There are about 18 that I have confirmed. I've heard anecdotally about a few more. Most of the themes with the names revolve around death. So you have things like the Grim Reapers, the Executioners, um, and you also have, there's also sort of like Western cowboy influence. So you have things like the Banditos, quite literally the cowboys, the rattlesnakes. And then you have just overtly racist ones. The Vikings, they take their name from Nordic tradition, and they have been said to be a white supremacist gang, as so described in a federal filing. You have gangs like the Wayside Whiteys that are explicitly, telling you in their name this is for white people only. Wayside Whiteys is said to be a KKK influence gang. And I've heard anecdotally about a gang calling themselves the White Knights, which again is taking influence from the KKK.
Yeah, many years ago, it was the FBI put out a report. It might have been 15 years ago, but I'll never forget it. Being a melanated person in America, you don't forget certain things. And what they were reporting is that they had information that law enforcement and the military had been infiltrated by white supremacist elements. And it seems like ever since then, we've been getting more and more confirmation of it. So who are these gangs? Are there gangs of different races? Are they primarily white or Latino? Or what's the makeup?
So all of the gangs have white supremacist themes in them. So most of them only allow members, or I'll say they do not allow Black members. They do not allow women to participate. There are some exceptions that are made. I have heard of members of Black members in the white supremacist Vikings. What they will do is modify the tattoo slightly for members of color. The Black Vikings that I've heard of, instead of having a Viking wearing a helmet with two horns pointed up, they will have one horn pointed down. Not really sure what that means, but those are what you will see on people of color that are sort of exceptions to the rule when it comes to that sort of thing. I have heard of a all-Black gang called the Buffalo Soldiers, referred to sometimes as Black Ops. There have been very well documented, there's been a very well documented all Latino gang in the East Los Angeles station called the Banditos. Again, although this is a mostly Latino gang, they do borrow a lot of white supremacist ideology. They target Black people. They target other Latinos, most often Latinos that are maybe recently arrived in this country and do not speak English, that sort of thing.
Wow, that's amazing. Speaking with Cerise Castle, she's a reporter based in LA, and she's been doing tremendous work. I mean, I think you're based in LA, obviously, but in my opinion, I believe that this is something that this is something that everybody across the country should be paying attention to. I'm based in Cincinnati, and so I'm curious about my own sheriff department, my own law enforcement here, and I want to get to that. And you said some things when we were conversing via Instagram, which I kind of raised my eyes a bit. But you said Buffalo Soldiers, so you've got some of these deputy gangs, and I also want to ask you about the evidence that you have to back this up, because this is a serious statement. But you said you have the Buffalo Soldiers. These are primarily Black sheriff deputies. Do they have a racist ideology? Are they racist against non-Blacks, or are they sort of like the good guys? Are there any quote unquote good guy deputy gangs?
Unfortunately, no. All of the deputy gangs that I'm talking about, I actually identified them through lawsuits that were brought against the county as the result of someone dying or someone being physically assaulted to within inches of death. So all of the deputy gangs that I'm talking about, these are gangs that are participating in violent crime. They are actively harming community members and often killing civilians. So these are not good guys by any stretch of the mind. When we're talking about the Buffalo Soldiers specifically, it's important to remember that there is a very deep culture within police, regardless of location, of protecting other so-called brothers in blue, no matter what. So, and often this is called the blue code of silence. So it's incredibly difficult to really find out a lot about this secret culture that is happening within state agencies. But there are ways to do it. And again, I just want to shout out the Ida B. Wells Society for teaching me how to do that. One good way of doing that is, as I mentioned, looking at litigation, finding these paper trails. And in this instance, the paper trails were all based around truly atrocious violent acts that were being perpetuated by deputy gang members against innocent community members, really just for the fun of it. And I forgot the second part of your question. I apologize.
Well, I just wondered, I wondered, well, I think you answered both. You answered all, actually. My question was primarily, what is the motivation of the black deputy gangs? Are they racist against white people, or is it sort of like protect the blue? I think you kind of answered that.
Mm-hmm. There is one thing I want to add about the black deputy gangs. There is a man that is currently running for sheriff that has been alleged to be a member of this black deputy gang. His name is Cecil Rambo. And if you look at his history, Mr. Rambo has been involved in at least 3 shootings. One where, young people were involved. It's unclear from the paperwork that I reviewed if this person was a juvenile, but there is a chance that this person that he shot was under the age of 18. We know at least one person on the scene was under the age of 18. He shot a fellow officer in the midst of a police operation. And he admitted to me multiple times in an interview that I did with him that he was aware of deputy gangs from about at least 2 years after he entered the department, all the way up until the time that he left, and took no action. So, again, while someone may be a person of color, we do see very often that, race doesn't matter, and they are more interested in supporting the deputy gang structure rather than community interests, which in fact they are sworn to protect and serve.
It seems like a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? Because we've heard about, the first time I heard about the concept of police being a gang was in popular culture. It was in hip hop, culture, movies, Boys in the Hood, things like that, in which people would say that the biggest gangs are the police. And now flashing forward, this seems to be true. And it's like, there's going to be more distrust between the community and the police, which is going to fuel the fire for the deputy gangs. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Wow, that's deep. Is there a competition? Why are there 18? Why are there so many? Why aren't there 2 or 3? Right? Why is it so fractionalized? And is there competition between the deputy gangs? And what's the overall goal? What do they want?
Yeah, I don't really know what they want. I would say they want power, they want recognition, they want glory. And what that looks like inside their culture is being seen as a hard ass, is being seen as the guy that will kick down the door, shoot all the bad guys, and take no prisoners, which is really unfortunate because, this is the United States. We're not supposed to do extrajudicial killings here, but, I'm sure as Black people, we all know that happens all the time. I don't think that should be happening. And that stuff is, illegal at best, morally corrupt at worst. And I think we can all agree that both of those things are true. Why are there so many? Each station, it's been said, I haven't been able to confirm this, but it's been alleged that each station has its own gang. And within those, and the gangs are generational. So every 10, 15 years or so, a new gang will arise with a new generation of deputies that are coming in. The best example that we see this documented is in East LA. In the East LA gangs, all gangs, they number the tattoos, so you can kind of get a gauge on how many people there are. That's a great way of getting proof. And in East LA specifically, when a gang hits 100 of numbering, they start over and they create a new gang. And that sort of times in with the generational processing that I was talking about. So the first gang that we have ever seen on record was in the East LA station in the 1970s called the Little Red Devils. About 10 years later, late 80s, 1990s, we see a new gang called the Cavemen that comes up and is the new generational gang in that station. Then in the early 2000s, you see the creation of the Banditos. And now in 2022, it's been alleged that the Banditos has hit 100 and a new gang and new ink is being created at the East Los Angeles station.
Which is the most powerful of the deputy gangs?
I would say they don't. I would say that, and this kind of answers.
Or is that the
another
wrong way to look
question.
at it?
Yeah, I would say I would look at it. I would look at it differently. It's not that they compete with each other or one gang is more powerful than the other. These are all the same sorts of guys. They appreciate the same sorts of things, and they're all pretty chummy with each other, from what I've been able to tell. And so when you become recognized as someone who is, you know, a hard charger, a badass, a shoot 'em all type of guy, um, regardless of your gang affiliation, you are seen as a leader, as someone that should advance in the department, and that's usually what happens. They get promoted, they rise through the ranks, and they're put in charge of other units, other stations, and that ideology is then taught to the new recruits, and you see new generations of gangs being created.
Is there I'm still trying to figure out the motive. Is there a financial moment? Is this we know it's a criminal element, right? But is it a criminal element? Are they shaking down dope dealers? Are they stealing, things like that? Or is it just, as you said, I'm trying to get my bones so people think I'm the next John Wayne or the Rambo type?
Well, both of those things are connected. So when a police officer, has a big bust or something, we all know about civil forfeiture, right? They get to keep that stuff. So there's definitely financial motivation. And with accolades from the department, that also comes with financial rewards. You get a medal and you get a bonus and you get a promotion, which means you get more money. If you're working on, a big bust case where you've supposedly busted dealers, this is an incident that actually happened that I'm speaking about. Some deputy gang members raided here in California. I'm sure everyone knows we have legal marijuana and have had legal marijuana for many, many years, dating back to the early 1990s. Two deputy gang members raided a completely legal marijuana dispensary, planted evidence at the scene, and processed it as such. People went to jail for this. People that were quite literally at their jobs were sent to jail for really no reason. And these officers were able to pass this off as, hard police work where they busted some drug dealers. This is a business that has been approved by the city that people pay taxes to support. Eventually it all fell apart in court, but people went to jail. People, went through some very serious psychological damage as a result of that. And these officers, they really didn't, they were punished, but they got to keep their jobs. They got to keep making, $160,000 plus annually, just base salary. That's not overtime included. We pay our sheriff's officers very, very well out here in California. So it's a lot of different things. All of these things are interconnected.
Has it been, I hear you talking about the sheriff deputies, but I don't hear you talking about the LAPD. Now, those are two different entities.
Yes.
Have you found any evidence that there are gangs within the LAPD? And if not,
yes.
Why not?
Yes, I have seen evidence of gangs inside the LAPD. I think most people nationally are familiar with the Rampart scandal and the crash unit. This happened in the 90s. This was a gang of Los Angeles police officers that were committing armed robbery of banks. And it's been alleged by other police officers that this same unit was involved in the death of the rapper Biggie Smalls. So, this is happening, and it's been said by even our own sheriff that this stuff is happening in every department. I've heard from police officers across the United States saying, Cerise, like, you need to come investigate my department because I'm seeing this happening and I don't know what to do because it's everyone from the higher ups all the way down.
Wow. Wow. When I reached out to you, I mentioned to you that I lived in Cincinnati, Ohio, and you mentioned that perhaps you'd heard some things about our sheriff's department here. What have you heard about the Hamilton County Sheriff's Department or the Cincinnati Police Department?
I've heard a lot of things about your sheriff's department, actually. I've heard from activists, many different activists in the city of Cincinnati, who I won't name for their safety, but I've been sent photos of things that appear to be gang insignias, different logos on cars, uniforms. Some particular officers have been identified to me as people of interest. But I must say, Cincinnati is probably the city I hear from the most often in regards to police gangs.
Is that right?
Yes.
That's right, because we have historic collaborative agreement. We have a new Democrat sheriff, and on the outside looking in, it appears that we're a model, and in some ways we are for the whole country. I will say though that there's a case that just jumped in my head. There's a case of a Cincinnati police officer who was dealing with activists at City Hall, I believe last year. And they were very vocal, and the mayor asked them to be removed. And as the Cincinnati police officer was removing them, the activist alleged that he flashed a white supremacist sign. And this went all the way to the Ohio Supreme Court because he wanted to sue them anonymously. And I remember looking at the video and I thought, that's really strange. That's very, very strange that you would make that kind of hand gesture. And it was like the okay hand gesture, right? Which can have double meaning. And it was something that we talked about for a short time here. Then it kind of died away in Cincinnati. So when you said that, it really piqued my interest. You said of all the places around the country, you hear from Cincinnati the most.
Yes, definitely.
Wow.
And it's different people that don't appear to know each other, which just gives it more credibility, in my opinion.
Yeah, most def. So I guess it's safe to say that this is potentially an issue that people should be concerned about all over the country. How would one, like I'm in Cincinnati, what would be the first step to doing further investigation, in your opinion, to figure out whether we have an issue in our own local law enforcement agencies?
Yeah, definitely. And this is something that I recommend to anyone that has these questions about their local law enforcement agencies. It isn't always easy to find this stuff out, but it can be done, and I encourage everyone to stick with it. It's really important to get this stuff out there. The first thing that you can do is file a public records request, and that's how I found out about all the deputy gangs in Los Angeles. It turned out that the county had been keeping a list of all the litigation related to that. And I found out about that by going back and listening to all of our Board of Supervisors meetings. The Board of Supervisors is the group that oversees county governance here in LA. So I listened to quite a few months worth of meetings, and I found something on the agenda that was asking for this list to be made. So I put in a records request for that list. And from there, I was able to use that list as a roadmap to find the deputy gangs. So it's, going and looking at city government, because they get up to a lot when we're not looking. I think that's sort of what they're banking on. So investigating like what's happening with the city government and what they're looking at, and that can, help you find things that exist that can help you on this journey of investigation. I would also recommend anyone interested in doing this type of investigative work to check out that workshop that I did. It's free. It's offered by the Ida B. Wells Society. It's free to join the society, and you can access a wealth of information that deals a lot with this stuff and will quite literally teach you how to do it. Can't recommend them enough. It's also important to understand things like the Police Officer Bill of Rights, qualified immunity. Those are legal systems that are set up to keep these structures in place. The reason that you know, these police officers can't be personally sued and held accountable. So I just want to make clear that like when a family like sues after a loved one has been killed, they have to sue the county. They can't sue the police officer that actually pulled the trigger and killed their loved one because of qualified immunity. Qualified immunity makes it so they are not liably responsible. It's this neat exception that lawyers invented for police officers that gives them license to kill people and face no repercussions. And that must be stopped in order to make any sort of changes as far as this is concerned. Another element of that is the Peace Officer Bill of Rights, which means that when an officer is under investigation for something like that, they actually get to review all the evidence with an attorney and a union representative during work hours before they have to answer any questions. And those questions have to be asked while they are on the clock. So they're getting paid to answer these questions about a potential crime that they are involved in. And also, while they're sitting with that union rep, they have that union rep in their ear telling them what to say so that the shooting, whatever, meets the standard of qualified immunity, so they can't be held responsible.
Right.
Those things working in concert make it so we can't make any changes.
Right.
So I encourage everyone to tap in with local campaigns looking to get rid of this stuff, because that work has been going on for a long time. And it's important to, you know, I'm sure everyone is outraged by this conversation. It's horrible to talk about this stuff, and it's stuff that we all know that has been happening. And I think it's very important to channel that outrage into, you know, what is happening within our collective to change this stuff. Because the more of us that are aware and talking about this and working to make that change, the faster it can happen.
Somebody wants to know, what about Kentucky? Have you heard anything about Kentucky, and if so, what?
I would say Kentucky and just the South writ large. A lot of reporters I've talked to, they tell me, oh, like they don't necessarily need deputy gangs in the South because that's just how things happen. That's just how it works. They don't need this sort of not almost like secrecy, like an anonymity behind a name, a group,
Right.
because
I would say secret society almost.
Yeah, and that doesn't exist because it's just so entwined. A colleague of mine was doing work in Tennessee, I want to say, which is close to Kentucky, and yeah, I was describing for her just some of the stuff that deputy gangs do, like planting evidence. I told that story earlier, and I was like, yeah, this is like textbook deputy gang stuff. And she was just saying to me, like, yeah, we've seen stuff like that done by, you know, assistant chiefs, and it's just sort of business as usual down here. They don't need that, you know, layer to commit these crimes. They're perfectly comfortable doing it in the open because it's been done that way, you know, really since the founding of the country down here.
Get it. That kind of makes sense, actually. Cerise Castle is my guest. She's a reporter working with Knock LA and exposing the history of deputy gangs in Los Angeles and beyond. And Cerise, I really appreciate the time. Just a few more questions if you've got the time. Going back to LA, and I need to ask this question so that we can play both sides of this. What is the evidence? What is the proof, right?
Yeah.
Some people are going to watch this and say, you know what, allegedly. Here we go, more of this Black Lives Matter conspiracy trying to make the police look bad and vilify us. What is the evidence that you have?
Yeah, I say allegedly because the cutoff date for me getting sued is in about another 10 days from now. So it's alleged. But in 10 days, they can't sue me for defamation, so I can drop that. And I want to point that out because it's really legal protection, right? That's why I'm saying allegedly. But I do have tons of proof. You can't see my filing cabinet, but it's over there. This stuff, like, this is all stuff that I uncovered that the county knew about, that the federal government knew about. The testimony that I'm looking at is sworn depositions of deputies saying, yes, I am in a gang. Yes, I have watched this gang do this thing. I have pages of that. I have photos of these tattoos. I have other people that have participated in these deputy gangs that have since left them telling me that guy was in the gang, that guy was in the gang, that guy was in the gang, which is very powerful. Yeah, and I'll say I went through a very rigorous fact-checking process for this series. None of this stuff would have been published had it not met, a very high editorial standard. And everything that is in that series, we've hyperlinked to the files and documents that collaborate the claims. And those are available for anyone that may have questions or want to do their own verification of my work.
Cerise, people are asking about your safety. Daryl wants to know, have you been getting death threats?
Of course.
And backlash from exposing these killer gangs in the police department?
Yeah, unfortunately, yes. Right after we published, it was a deluge of death threats that I was receiving via text message, phone call, social media. That's died off for the most part. I do get weird calls every now and then, but I've gotten better at screening them. I have been threatened by this is an election year here in LA County. The campaign manager of our sheriff threatened to post my home address. They attempted to arrest me at a press conference that I was attending. As a reporter, I had RSVP to. I had my press lanyard on. They attempted to arrest me. So now I have a bodyguard that I have to pay for to come with me to do my job. The sheriff of Los Angeles County just last week, he has a radio program for some reason here in LA, which is legally sketchy at best. There are some potential FCC violations there because this is an election year. You can't have a candidate just having an hour of open airtime without giving that same opportunity to others. So that's a whole other story. But on this radio show last week, he spent an hour just bashing me, trashing me, threatening me, really. So yeah, I get threatened quite a bit, quite often. But can I swear?
Cerise, if we're dealing with individuals, and as you say, part of the initiation process to get in some of these deputy gangs is it to harm someone seriously or to kill someone?
Kill, yes.
To kill someone.
Yes, yeah.
And so if you're dealing with individuals that'll kill innocent people just to get into a gang, they would have no qualms with harming you, especially when you're targeting them.
It's something I think about a lot. I've been in many situations where, I've seen deputies like grab their guns for, no reason, just like talking. And it's something that, I've thought about. It would be really easy to just shoot and kill me because we would see it almost on a monthly basis here in LA. It's only March 18th and the sheriff's department has killed 4 people this year. And the one that they killed last week, he was a man that was just literally driving by in his car, and they surrounded his car and shot him. So it would be really easy to just kill me, and probably nothing would happen. But I really don't care. I can't imagine doing anything else at this point in my life. And I think, it's going on shows like this and talking about this so openly, and telling the community that this is happening, that's what protects me, keeps me safe. And I hope that it will extend to other people in the community as well. The more I'm talking about, the guys that can't come on, shows like this, like the guy that was killed, 23-year-old random young man just trying to get home from work. Like, I hope talking about his death, and talking about this issue just makes people more aware. And through that awareness and people tapping in and getting involved with this stuff, it makes it stop.
So you feel like the media attention is offering you a blanket of protection because if something
Definitely.
happens to you, then that legitimizes what you're saying. It's like, oh, but people die under mysterious circumstances. Sometimes it looks like it's an accident and it really isn't. So I really do, sister, wish you the best and hope that you are protected in what you're doing in your journey. I think it's very important. Someone wants to know, how can we support you or support you financially for your protection? Do you have a Patreon page or
Oh, thank you
GoFundMe
so
or anything like
much.
that?
Yeah, you can support my work by I have my Venmo, PayPal, Cash App information on my Instagram, which is at Your Majesty. It's spelled instead of TYCEE. And yeah, I think it's also important. We asked how people can get involved earlier. It's to talk about how, again, the system is set up to keep this information from people. So it costs money to access a lot of these records, right? And the government can really charge whatever the hell they want. There is no set price, and it varies greatly from one jurisdiction to another, and even from state to federal court. I spent $4,000 just trying to find out this stuff, and I had to like make decisions like, okay, I'm not going to spend $400 on that case file because I need to spend it on this case file where 4 people got killed. So it's important to keep that in mind, and there's a reason for that, right? Like they don't really want this information to be easily accessible to people. So I do thank that viewer for that question. And I appreciate any support that can be given because, yeah, unfortunately, the system is set up to limit people from finding this out from a financial perspective.
Last question, Cerise, is I wonder why this is being allowed to continue. Because as you said earlier, you said people know about it, right? People inside of law enforcement know about it. The good guys inside of law enforcement know about it. Is this too big to fail? Is it too big to handle? Or do the powers that be feel like, hey, so what? It ultimately fits our goal. Why is this allowed to continue, in your opinion?
Yeah, I think it's all of those things. I think for a long time, people really didn't care because this was happening to poor people that were Black, poor people that were brown. And, these are people that are already incredibly at a systemic disadvantage. So it was easy for the government to just look the other way and not care. And what you were saying about playing into their goal, yeah, I've talked to people that, work with police officers, and they've told me that there are cases that happen in, Black areas where people are under a certain income threshold where the police just won't take any action, where people are selling guns, killing people, and the police know that this is happening. They know who is doing it, and they just say, we're not going to do anything. And I think that it was the case 50 years ago. It continues to be the case today. I think the attention has made it politically advantageous for some people to take action. So you see more people willing to take action. I also think that we're more aware now as a society. I think that white people are more open to hearing these things and believing us the first time when we say that this is happening. And that has helped, more accountability happen. And it's other people of color too, right? Not all skin folk are kin folk. I think it's everyone just sort of like realizing like, yes, this is real, this is happening. And that's helped. But I also still think we have a very long way to go to change this.
Yeah, you just said a mouthful right there. When you said white people are more open, it's a damn shame that it should matter that much. But you're right. And unless we get allies on these kind of issues, history has shown us there's not going to be any movement. What's next for you? Is there more to this? Is there another level or layer that you want to bring to this particular story? But what's next for you?
Yeah, so I actually have a podcast coming out, which is going to be talking about all of these things, sort of an audio version of the series that I did, as well as additional reporting that I have uncovered over the past year. That will be out in October. And I am continuing to write about the sheriff's department, deputy gangs inside the sheriff's department at Knock LA. And I continually post updates on this stuff on my Twitter and my Instagram. So if you want to keep up on just like the day-to-day developments, definitely follow me there.
I certainly will. Cerise, thank you so much. I sent you a friend request on Facebook. If you've got the capacity, please.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, please.
I'm not on Facebook a lot, but I will.
Yeah, I just want to stay connected to whatever you got going on. And if you hear anything about Hamilton County Sheriff deputies or Cincinnati, please let me know. Please let me know so I can let the community know, okay? Stay safe, sis, and let's stay connected. Let's get back into it. So, wow, yeah, wardrobe change. So that originally aired on Friday. I'm a man of my word. I told you that I had scheduled an interview on Friday. It was later in the afternoon. It ended up being later than that because she has some meetings and stuff going on. But that's Cerise Castle. And you can find her on social media. She's on Twitter, Cerise Castle, and support her if you like. But I want to play it again because I know we didn't touch we didn't touch everybody. And I want to make sure that people got a chance to hear it. There's more, about 5 or 6 minutes more. I asked her a couple more questions. We got into her interview on the Breakfast Club, and she talked a little bit about that experience. But you can find it up on our CDM Facebook page and check it out for yourself. And also I shaved off maybe like the first 3 to 4 minutes. So there's a little bit more content if you're interested. I did pick up a little bit of an echo. Sometimes these things happen when you're live streaming. But I want you to check it out. I thought it was very interesting. And in particular, what she was talking about Hamilton County and Cincinnati and some things she had heard. It's very, very interesting. And black folks been saying for a long time that we feel like the police has been infiltrated. And here she does, and she's done this whole investigation. I mean, it's in depth, y'all. It's in depth. You should go. Let me flash the website again where you can find it. 3Ws.LASDgangs, plural, .knock-la.com. And it's a 15-part series, and she gets in depth. And you have to make your own decision up as to decide for yourself as to whether you believe her or not. But the sister's definitely in danger. Ain't no doubt about it. And speaking with investigative journalists, man, that's in my wheelhouse. You know, it's what I do. I did it at the beginning of my career. I'm doing it now. I'll be doing it from the beginning to the end because I feel like these folks are on the cutting edge of what's happening and speaking some real truth to power. And that's where I want to be. And over the years, I spoke with a lot of investigative journalists. I mean, hell, I spoke with Gary Webb. Gary Webb died in 2004, just to tell you how long I've been doing this. I'm not new to this. That was 2004. And I was one of the last people, the second to last interview he did before he allegedly committed suicide. Gary Webb, white dude. He actually worked for the San Jose Mercury News and also the Cleveland. He worked for the Cleveland Plain Dealer as well. And he wrote a series called the Dark Alliance series, and he exposed the explosion of crack cocaine in our community and the connection between the CIA and the Contras. He's that guy. There's a movie out that was put out many years ago titled Kill the Messenger. You might have seen that. It's all about him. And he died of mysterious circumstances. I remember, I'll never forget it, in that interview. And at that point, I was doing the night show. It was when I first got to commercial radio, hit the ground running, right? And, you know, he talked about how he felt like he would come home sometimes and he felt like people had ransacked his house. He felt like people were following him. His life basically was destroyed. Couldn't get a job. It affected his marriage, everything. You know, they tried to break him. They broke him. And then all of a sudden we hear that he committed suicide. Family says, yeah, he was down on his luck, but they suspected maybe it was foul play or some other things. And then from the outside looking in, I'm like, wow, this is very suspicious. And again, he was the dude that exposed that relationship between the crack cocaine explosion in our community, the black community in our neighborhoods that decimated and destroyed our neighborhoods and our progress, and the CIA and what they were doing with the Contras. So, you know, here we are. America loves to play like the good guy, but America ain't no goddamn good guy in terms of what we've been doing across the globe for centuries now, from the invasion of Hawaii. I got a book over there right now that talks about, 100 years of regime change. So right now, here we are, everybody's looking down on Russia, but the United States has done the same damn thing for over 100 years, meddling in other countries, toppling governments that wouldn't play ball with us. And a lot of times it had to do with financial interests. You had American-based companies that were intertwined with our U.S. foreign policy individuals, and they was just going after the bag. So, when I look at the Ukraine, I mean, I have to look at it from a long lens. Like, do I think what Russia's doing is bad? Yeah. But the United States did the same damn thing. We got a long, bloody history of doing the exact same thing, right? So there are no good guys and bad guys when you talk about international politics. It's a system of anarchy, meaning that states do what they do. The strong do what they want to do, and the weak try to get beyond. They try to get by. That's what happens on the international stage. And if you got nuclear weapons, you get treated with respect. And when you don't have nuclear weapons, you get ran over, like in Iraq. So it just leads to the proliferation of nuclear weapons. So the United States and other nuclear power entities will leave you the F alone. You don't see them doing that with North Korea because they got the big bomb. So it becomes a proliferation type of thing. So, I mean, we can get deep into this. I mean, I spent years and years deep into the bag in this stuff, to the whole thing Iraq, giving you some of the most superlative and cutting edge commentary from a Cincinnati perspective, right? So I could get right back into that. That file is still there. I could jump right back into it real quick. But to bring it up to date to what Cerise is doing, I mean, I support the sister. And I do not want to hear about her dying under any suspicious circumstances. But, if what she's saying is true, you're dealing with individuals that will kill innocent civilians just so they can get into a deputy gang out in Los Angeles. She's speaking of Los Angeles County Sheriff deputies. So I wish her the best. I wish her nothing but the best. And again, you can follow her right there. 513-873-7134. Charles writes, the United States is like Homelander. Looks like a good guy, but is really a narcissistic villain. The Boys, if you haven't watched The Boys, you ain't watching shit. What is you watching? The Boys is one of the dopest shows streaming right now. They're about to go into their third season. It is great commentary. Right, it is commentary about celebrity culture, the United States, U.S. foreign policy. It is super deep, and it's a lot of fun too. You should be checking that out if you can stomach it. You might not be into that kind of stuff, but that's my wheelhouse. It's very, very adult, and I'm all for it. So great minds view alike. We view alike. Speaking of viewership, and streaming, man, I'm so pissed at Netflix. You money grabbing capitalist motherfucker, you. Netflix has got a pilot program now. So the way it's set up right now, if you're paying for a Netflix account, which has gone up every single year, like at some point it's going to be $50 a month to get on Netflix. When they started, it was like $5 a month. Because I remember the evolution of Netflix. I've been riding that wave with them since the very beginning. And so now they're doing this thing where you can't share your password with somebody else. They want to charge you for that. So for instance, Media Buddha right now, she's on her way to college for the next couple of years, right? When she goes to college, she wants to get on Netflix on her phone. She wants to get on Netflix on her little apartment, her dormitory, right? We already got an account. So we just share the password with her. She can do what she want to do. Netflix wants to stop all of that. Why? Because that's what these boards do with these corporations. They sit around, and again, I'm not hating on them. That's what they do. They sit around and they figure out how to make more money with the product that they have. How can we squeeze just a little bit more? 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 Can we just squeeze just a little bit more profit? Just a little bit more profit out of it, right? And so now what they want to do is they're going to start charging us, for sharing your password with somebody that's not based at the address, right? Where you originally started your account. A bunch of BS. Because we share accounts with family members. Family members share accounts with us, not just with Netflix, but with like all of the streaming services. And you know how this works. If Netflix does this, then Hulu's going to do it. And all the other streaming services are going to do it because they want to try to squeeze as much money as they can out of us. Gosh darn it. Gosh darn capitalist. I'm trying to be better. You gosh darn capitalist. Sounds lame as F, don't it? But it is what it is. Jerica writes, the U.S. recently bombed Somalia, but no one's talking about it over the airways. Shaking my head. I got a book over there. It's called 100 Years of Regime Change. It's a white dude. I forget his name. But, you know, we started a relationship. He came on the show multitude of times and talked about the history of regime change in the country, United States, from Hawaii. Go look back. How did Hawaii become a part of the United States? Go back and look. We got the mic. We taking it. Royal family, go sit your ass down. It's ours now. We've been doing that since the beginning of the formation of this country. And again, so when I hear all this stuff about Putin, it's like, y'all was selling crack in black neighborhoods so you could try to help the Contras. But Putin is an evil despotic dictator that's against humanity. All I'm saying is, I'm not saying that's not true. All I'm saying is there's enough evil. There's been enough dirt to go around. And the United States, my country, 'tis of thee, her hands are not clean. Her hands are not clean at all. Not one bit. I mean, you should check it out. I'll see, maybe I'll take a break and I can see. I think that's what the title is, 100 Years of Regime Change. And I can kind of remember the author's name. I can see his face. I can't remember his name. It's been a minute since I even talked about the book, but you know, that's how it is, man. It is what it is. Jericho writes, Jeannie writes, where can the boys be watched? It can be watched on Prime Video. It's an original Prime Video series. Get ready for it. It's very adult. It's very adult. But they use, I won't even spoil it for you. Check it out for yourself. Check it out for yourself. It is very interesting. It's very interesting. Smart people sit back and just pick it apart like, oh, it's the symbolism. The symbolism is crazy in it. Super crazy. Jack writes, Netflix needs to meet their Redbox. Is that right? Charles writes, Hulu is already doing it. Oh, Hulu started it. They have to set it up where it won't work for any. I hate it. I hate it. Shannon's in the house. She writes, so let's all cancel our accounts for a month and tell them to go to hell. We can all just get cable if it's going to look like cable. It's going to look just like cable. It's going to look, in terms of, I got away from cable because I wasn't using it. I wasn't using it. I was online. I was on YouTube most of the time. Why would I pay for this? Got rid of it, never looked back. But since then, slowly we've replaced those costs with Netflix and this and that and Peacock. You know what I'm saying? I got to watch Bel Air. You know, that's how they get you. It's $5 to start. In a year, it'll be $10. Capitalism. Capitalism. Del writes, Putin is evil. Putin is evil. If Putin is evil, then so is the United States. I'll just put it like that. And that's a very strong statement, but that's because I've got an understanding of some of the transactions that the United States has been involved in. And again, that's just looking at what they've done, what the United States has done to her own people. What the United States has done in other countries is a whole nother thing. People just don't know. People just don't know. They don't teach that kind of shit in the United States history books. They don't teach you like the various atrocities that have been committed in the name of Americana, in the name of the American dream. We could get into it at this point, but to be honest with you, if you really want to get into it, I need to sharpen up a little bit on my knowledge so I can drop some really truly superlative flows on you. I'm just doing this off the top of the dome, you know, just walking around knowledge. And let's just say there's a lot to it. I mean, we could say this is about how Americans treated black folks. Just stop right there. Let alone how the United States has been meddling in other countries' affairs, toppling leaders, installing leaders that were more, and they're still doing this, that were more open to working with American corporations, all about that dollar. I say it again, Saddam Hussein had nothing to do with 911. Why we go there? That's where the oil is. Spectacular show, bombs over Baghdad, that kind of thing. Since we're talking about capitalism, something interesting is happening. I keep telling you that Cincinnati is on the come up. Black Cincinnati is on the come up. I keep telling you, I keep seeing all these great people doing great things. It's all going to just magnify and multiply. I want to read this to you. Something interesting is coming to Cincinnati. You gotta hear about this. It's going to be super dope. It's going to be super dope. Hold on a second. Let me find it. Yeah, this is going to be really interesting. Cincinnati has a lot to offer. And it's not just the Cincinnati Bengals, who, by the way, have picked up some impressive names in free agency in terms of the offensive line. La'el Collins is coming. He said, hey, I got your back, Joe Burrow. Ain't nobody touching you. I'm like, word? The Bengals are serious, huh? But check this out. Some of the most innovative people in the world, Craig, are coming to Cincinnati this summer for the newly relocated Black Tech Week. That's right. You've heard of Black Tech Week? I'm sure you have. It's now been relocated to Cincinnati. I believe it was down in Florida. It's down in Florida. It's a sister named Candace Matthews Brackeen. I've never met her before, but hope to talk to her real soon. But she now is the owner of Black Tech Week. She's bringing it here. So some of the most innovative minds in tech are coming to Cincinnati. I keep saying it. Cincinnati's on the come up. You can either get involved or get the fuck out the way. But Cincinnati is on the come up. I keep saying it, y'all. You heard it. I've been saying it for years. We've got good bones. We've got nowhere to go but up. There's nowhere else to go but up. And there's a lot of good people that are looking at Cincinnati, a lot of very influential people that are looking at Cincinnati like, that could be the next place. Could be. It could be. Also, I want to say shout out to the brothers over at Timeless Recording Studio. I know they got a new location over in Evanston. I wasn't able to attend. Got the invite from one of the brothers who, just through my own journey, I kind of came in contact with what they were doing, and I will 100% support them. Some very smart brothers, and I think what they're providing for the city is huge. And I'm going to reach out to them and see if I can get them on the show and talk about what they're doing and talk about their journey. I think it's interesting and inspirational. But a shout out to the brothers over there and what they're doing at Timeless Recording Studio. Look, I got some funny stories I could share with you, but I'll save it for later. But I love what they're doing. Very serious brothers. Very smart, entrepreneurial brothers. I love it. I love it. So, yeah, Black Tech Week is coming to Cincinnati. Relocated from, was it Miami? Double check here. Yeah, from Miami. So you're going from Miami, Florida to Cincinnati. There must be a reason why. And part of it is the rising startup culture. Part of it is the investments into black startups that have already been made. I mean, this is the home base of Mortar. Think about that. Guess this. I love what they're doing now. They're gonna Black Tech Week is gonna coincide with the Cincinnati Music Fest. I can't think of a better timing of it. Absolutely, just genius moves right there. Smart timing. So now it's just one more attraction that'll be here when all these thousands of people are already planning on being here. Smart. I'll say it again. Say it with me. Cincinnati's on the come up. You can either get involved or get the F out the way. But either way is going to happen. That's what it looks like anyway. We never know until all these things kind of drop, but that's what it looks like to me. And again, I've just seen a lot of good people. I know a lot of folks in the city doing a lot of things. There's even more things that are going to be dropping, which, I've been sworn to secrecy at this point. But there's even more amazing things that are happening in the city of Cincinnati that's going to touch black Cincinnatians in particular that you'll hear about really, really soon. So get ready for that, y'all. Get ready for that. What's up, Rilo? He writes, preach, Nate. Good morning to you. Dale writes, I can't blame Netflix for doing that. I blame the loudmouth folks saying that they share their accounts. If MS would have kept their not closed, Netflix would have never known what you do with your account. Netflix knows because they got the metrics. Netflix is a tech company. They know where people are streaming. I'm sure they've got, and again, I don't have any evidence to back this up, but they're smart, intelligent people. I mean, I can only imagine they have this. But if you're on your smartphone on Netflix, Netflix knows you're on your smartphone, and probably through geolocation, they know exactly where you are. They know where you are already. So I don't think that people talking about it had anything to do with it. It's just profit. You get a smart bunch, you get a board of trustees or a board of whatever, a lot of smart people, a lot of smart capitalists. Hulu's already doing it, think Charles said. They're like, hey, this is how we make a few more dollars. I don't like it, but it is what it is. America. Isaiah writes, did Taft win? Taft did win. Props to Taft High School. I think it's Division II, but they won their division. Yeah, Division II. They're the state champs. Props to Taft High School and their coach and all the players. Cincinnati's on the come up. I keep saying it. Keep saying when it happens, you're going to be like, damn, they was right again. They was right again. Dale writes, America has blood on his hands, but Putin bombing hospitals in place where children are seeking shelter is wicked. America's bombed hospitals before? What happened in Philadelphia? They bombed the whole block. You had women and children in there. Police dropped bombs straight on them. I'm not in any way trying to make an argument that's pro-Putin. All I'm saying is there's a lot of history about America's actions and atrocities that people just don't know about. And I ain't just talking about the way they've treated non-white people. I ain't just talking about the way they treat the Native Americans. I'm talking about their actions in other countries. That's what I'm talking about. It's the truth. It's the truth. Sister Iris is in the house. She writes, congratulations to the Taft Senators. Absolutely. Jesse writes, if you have a Fire Stick and send HD, you won't need Netflix. You're right about that. I do have a Fire Stick. I do. Dare writes, both things can be true. If you're talking about Putin being evil and then the United States actions and what we've done in other countries, I mean, you could say that what they did in Iraq was evil. I'm not saying Saddam Hussein was some great guy. I'm not saying he wasn't, committing, human rights abuses. All I'm saying is he had nothing to do with 9/11 whatsoever. And oh, by the way, 9/11 is still suspect. We still don't know what really happened there because I don't believe the official story. I'm not dumb. You can't just tell me anything. I don't believe that. So I'm just saying when it comes to evil and atrocities and all that kind of shit, there's a lot of that to go around. There's a lot of that to go around. It really, really, really is. Like I said, the CIA was selling dope in our neighborhoods. The CIA was involved with selling dope in black neighborhoods so they could take the funds and give it to the Contras. And what did that do to our neighborhoods? We're still recovering from it. Was that evil? I'd say so. So, I mean, when I hear all this stuff about Putin, I agree. Bombing innocent people, we should help as much as possible. Humanitarian efforts and defensive efforts to the Ukrainians or whatever they got to do. Right? I'm with it 100%. But there's a lot of that. They talk about, Putin killing journalists. What happened to Gary Webb? That ain't the first time journalists have been silenced. Journalists have been silenced in the United States. I mean, this ain't new. I'm just saying. Let me see. Good morning to you. Good morning to you. And good morning to you. Thank you for being here. Nat writes, I'm going to go to that Black Tech conference for sure. I'll definitely be there. Most def. Yeah, I think it's great. It's a great idea. And again, from Miami to Cincinnati, it's because of the startup community that's here in the city of Cincinnati and the black startup community. I mean, Cincinnati has great bones. It does. So we shall see. Tracy writes, LMAO, Netflix has known for years. They've known for years. They've known for years. They know it's a tech company. They understand where you're watching and streaming their services. They know exactly where you are. They can pinpoint your location when you're streaming and probably can pinpoint it when you're not streaming because you're giving them access to your phone. And via that, they can pinpoint you anywhere you go on the globe. Kevin writes, they are calling Cincy in Northern Kentucky the new Silicon Valley. Has a lot to do with my alma mater, NKU's new computer department, College of Informatics. Is that right? What's up, Kevin? Yeah, I'm telling you, man, be proud of where you're from. I mean, there's some things that are happening, and you can either be a part of the positive part or you can bellyache and moan and complain, and we're never going to do this. And I'm too positive for that. And I just see too many good actors working in a good way. And so we shall see. Shannon writes, they have already changed it to make that only so many accounts can be used under one license. So who cares if you buy the 30-person package and you share? Right. I don't care. To me, you shouldn't charge me for that. Yeah, if I want my daughter and my son, you know what I'm saying, and we want to pay for their Netflix because we all on the same account, then if I want to give it to my cousin, I got a cousin who likes to watch streaming shows, I want to do that. If I got a friend I want to give it to, I should be able to do that. It's mine. I'm paying for it. But it's capitalism. I get it. It's capitalism. Charles writes, TAF won Division 3. I was in error. Thank you for the correction. TAF won Division D3 stateship for boys. Purcell won it for girls. Go champs. Absolutely. I know that they're really proud. They should be proud. Down the TAF Senators, they should be proud. A lot of hard work. Student athletes. That's a great thing. Jack writes, if you work in an iPhone, you don't have no reason to complain about Netflix, IMO. Carmelita writes, good morning, Nathan and the Choppers. Good morning to you.
Get to the chopper!
To the damn Choppers. Good morning to you. Ray's in the house. Sharp writes, good morning, Nathan and the Choppers. Ashley writes, good morning, Nathan and the Choppers. Happy Monday. CG Dub writes, good morning, Choppers. Angela writes, salutation, beloveds. Good morning to you. How do you infiltrate something you created? Until qualified immunity is removed, these games will continue to wreak havoc. Yeah, if you missed it, it's on our Facebook page right now. You can check it out. I posted it we were supposed to talk at 1. We didn't end up talking till like 1:45. And it was on her end. She had some things going on, but I was more than willing to accommodate. But you can watch the interview in its entirety and check it out for yourself and share it. Share it with as many people, who you think might be interested in it. El Grio writes, Grand Risings, good people. Good morning to you, El Grio. TC writes, good morning. She was there. Rilo writes, what's up, Rilo, on Facebook? Frederick Douglass said it best in his speech titled The Hypocrisy of America. I could care less about that white-on-white crime in Ukraine. Yeah, I mean, I am vaguely aware of Frederick Douglass and his speech. I'm aware of it, but I can't remember anything in particular. I get the overall gist of it, but I can't remember any of his bars or flows or anything. But he was on point. That was the same thing that Muhammad Ali was saying, and not Malcolm X, but Martin Luther King was saying about the Vietnam War. Why are we over there? We got problems here. I'm not suggesting that the United States stand down with the Ukrainian crisis over there because it could be a domino effect. And I think that in a humanitarian way, we should be trying to help people in crisis anywhere in the globe. But are we consistent with that? I don't think so. Sheila writes, the show Snowfall is about that very thing, Nate. Oh, the crack cocaine explosion? Yeah. Y'all ain't hip to Gary Webb. I'm telling you, it was chilling. At the time, my producer was Mr. Lamont. We both had goosebumps when we talked to Gary Webb. It was chilling. The way he talked about what was happening to him and he told his story. It was chilling. And then 6 months later, he was dead under suspicious circumstances. It was chilling. He's like, yeah, I come home sometime and I feel like somebody's gone through my house or my house has been ransacked. I feel like I see people following me. And his career was just destroyed. And he was right. That's the thing about it. He was right. It's the same thing with Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali was right about the Vietnam War. He was right. Let's go back to the phones. Good morning. Welcome to the show.
What's up, Nate? What's going on, brother?
Hey, what's up, Daryl? Good morning to you.
I think, maybe you didn't misunderstand me, but I just want to clarify something.
Okay.
My thing about Putin, he's evil, point blank. But I'm not letting America off the hook at all for the atrocities that occurred within its own borders. So don't get it. I mean, I'm saying this in general, not directly to you, but don't get it twisted. I'm not forgetting that. All I'm saying is just because one does wrong or, don't mean we condone the other. And what I hear a lot is, I thought, with our people, what made us special, since you touched on Dr. King and Muhammad Ali, is that we saw, even though there were atrocities committed against our people, that we saw the humanity in others not to feel the same way. So that gave us, talking about black people, the moral high ground in terms of even though things happen to us, don't make it right for it to happen to somebody else. And we're not going to be agnostic in terms of atrocities occurring to other people that may not look or believe like us. So, you know, with that said, that's all I'm saying. I mean, anybody that's bombing, strategically bombing, and yeah, we can say the same thing in Iraq, Afghanistan. We did the same thing, and it all ties into the, you know, how it's covered, how it's communicated over the media, or, you know, what they want to say, mainstream media or corporate media, and how they're doing, you know, you hear independent reports of what really happened, but I was looking at, actually I caught a little bit of Morning Joe, and it was interesting because they started talking about how they're going to allow Ukrainian refugees to start coming to America. I don't have a problem with that. I really don't. But what I do have a problem with, and how this is being portrayed, is when that stuff went down in Haiti, like the latter part of last year, you know, gangs going through shooting up people, and you had Haitian refugees wanting to come to the United States. And then there was no aid. There was hardly any, not to the extent of Ukraine, and I kind of get why, but there should have been a little more coverage about that. But then there was all this trouble about, well, you know, we can't, you know, Haitian refugee, you know, it was all this hemming and hawing about giving them access to come into the United States. And so this country, and I've always believed this country is you know, you know, is that person in the mirror that says, yeah, I've been working out. and they look at themselves in the distorted mirror and see, yeah, I'm built, but in actuality, you know, they all out of shape. They need to work out, but they still see themselves as they used to be. So in saying that,
you might be talking about me, bro.
It's almost
no. Before my heart attack.
No, that could apply to me too. but what I'm really saying is that the paradigm is, you know, United States uses the moral high ground of World War II, and I'm going to go back to World War II because you know, the comparisons to Hitler and how Putin is making his move on Eastern Europe countries and trying to reconstitute the USSR. And those were independent countries before the USSR. They're independent countries now, and he's trying to reconstitute them. But what gets me, I mean, maybe you can help me with this. You got black people out here defending Putin. I was listening to some conservative brother yesterday on Sirius, and he was like, he was like, well, I don't know why we scared of Russia, going down that whole thing. Like, well, Russia is, all they doing is, you know, they protecting their interests because they don't want all these countries to be part of NATO, right? So, you know, and these are the same people talking about, well, if Trump was in, this wouldn't be happening. Man, look, listen. What would have happened is Putin would have sat tight until Trump would have pulled up out of NATO, because he was going to pull us out of there. That was his plan, because they wasn't paying the bill and they need to pay their fair share. That was his whole thing. Once that happened, then Putin would have went in. Not only would he would have went past Ukraine. And so this whole thing, and like I said, the United States definitely has blood on their hands. But like, that's what I meant by both things could be true. Like, United States has blood on their hands, but at the same time, I feel like we can't condone what's going on because, look, Putin don't care about us, and people siding with them saying, yeah, why y'all calling Putin, why y'all scared of Putin? Putin ain't doing nothing. And I'm sitting there like, are these fools? Like, your black ass be over in Russia, you be just like Brittany Griner. I mean, I'm like, what part of this don't you get? He ain't for us. But y'all sitting there defending him. And then when you look at the misinformation that's coming across social media, through Facebook, Twitter, the bots, all this ADOS bullshit people believing, that's all Russian. That's from a Russian troll farm. I'm like, what part of this don't you get? And it's like some of us, not all of us, but some of us are buying it hook, line, and sinker. ADOS, ADOS, and all those groups, they always talk about no vote, no reparations, no vote, right? But these mofos ain't out here supporting the sister you had on Friday trying to get her elected. They not down in Louisiana trying to get Gary elected. They not here in Georgia trying to keep Warnock and Stacey Abrams and get them in office, but they talking all this shit. I'm tired of them. I am. And I would challenge them on all their facts. I've listened to them in their spaces and in their little chat rooms. Man, you listen to that conversation, just sit back and listen. So devoid of facts of how things work in civics. And I'm convinced they went to high school. Maybe they took a civics class, and if they did, they got Fs. No doubt about it, bro. Peace.
Thanks for the flows. Appreciate it. Yeah, I love it. Get to the choppers. Great flows. Interesting. I love a strong viewpoint, even if it is contrary to my own. If you can think for yourself and articulate how you feel, that's all that matters to me. If we have some disagreement, then we could talk about it, hopefully in a polite way. We don't have to be disagreeable, all right? You do not have to agree with me to get into this show. In fact, if you got an intelligent, informed viewpoint that's on the other side, I welcome it because I want to learn. So you can teach me. I'm open to it. Somebody asked me, what was that website where she could check out Cerise's information? Again, it's 3 W's or dubs dot LASD gangs, GANGS .knock, KNOCK -LA.com. And get ready for it. It's voluminous. It's comprehensive. It's a lot to go through, but it's very interesting. I'm not lying to tell you I went through all of it. I went through some of it so I could be prepared for my conversation with her. And then I went back after the conversation on the weekend because I was just interested in like, damn, let me read more about it. It's very interesting if you like that kind of stuff. So check it out for yourself. Good morning to you. Good morning. Yeah, I don't have Rilo writes, Nate, do you still? I believe I do. I believe it's down in my basement on a disc. I believe it's down in my basement on a disc. I burned it because I wanted to keep it. Yeah. And then, you know what? I thought about looking for it. I know, I got tapes from the Fade to Black days, you know what I'm saying? I got tape from the Waif days because for a lot of different reasons, but I want to keep that kind of stuff. The point is, I told my wife that when I die, see, I'm not going out like, the usual. I'm not a regular dude. So I've already pre-purchased my sarcophagus. Yeah, Egyptian style, great kings of Africa. So I'm going to be buried in a sarcophagus. And my wife has been instructed, or my children have been instructed via my will, I'm not lying, this is a real deal, that they're going to fill up the empty space in my sarcophagus because I want to be forever entombed as a king, the king that I am. So you have to have a sarcophagus and in my own head, right? And so they're going to fill the empty spaces in my sarcophagus with all of the DVDs, tapes, videos, and stuff like that because future man, I'm hoping, will uncover, my sarcophagus when they pop the seal and they view the information, they'll realize that there were some people with some gosh darn sense back in the 21st century. Nathan Ivey and the Choppers. Everybody wasn't stupid as hell. Somebody has some damn sense, and they can use that to get some insights into, at that point in the future, you know, ancient man. So I'm just doing it for the culture. Basically, I'm doing it for the culture. You ain't got yourself a sarcophagus, man? You better get you one. I think they got over Harlan Jordan. You can get over there. Jericho writes, Ukraine doesn't even respect the Africans in Somalia. I love my peoples, man. I love the fact that we can talk about anything. I love that. And people right there with me, man. I love that shit. You know, man, they just don't know. They don't know the people that we are. They don't have no idea. Jared writes, moderate Dems are just as harmful as Republicans in terms of the implicit bias harming legislation that would help people of color. You talking about Joe Manchin and Christian Cinema? Well, in terms of how the Senate works, you have to be right about that. You have to be right about that. Isaiah Johnson writes, this guy just loves to hear himself. This is Bano speak. Okay, I hear you. You're still welcome, brother. Brent writes, you talking about me or whoever you talking about, you still welcome, man. Brent writes, the Russians, Europeans, and Americans know that divide and conquer has worked since the beginning of time. So what the Belgians did in Rwanda by creating fake groups like the Hutus and the Tutsis. Yeah, and Daryl brought up something that I haven't heard that phrase in a while. He said Russian troll farms. He's talking about the cyber attacks going back to 2016. And what the Russians did with their cyber attacks is, and I've said this before, I'll make this point again, because Brent just said something, it's divide and conquer. When you keep it with people divided on anything, it's easy to conquer them. And that's what they did. That's how they helped Trump get in office. And they did it during Facebook, primarily in social media. And what they did is they used their algorithms. They got access to the trends that people had on Facebook in terms of what kind of information you were looking at and what kind of Facebook groups you were in. And so we know what they did. They just inundated you. They bombarded you with more stuff, right, that you already felt a certain way about. So if you were somebody who felt an issue about the police and you felt the police were a gang, or you felt the police were out to kill black people and the police were just running amok, they just fed you more of that. Why? Divide and conquer. You know, when you're dealing with a human being, it's almost impossible to change somebody's mind. That's not what you want to do. That's not how you sway somebody. What you do is you just find out which way somebody is leaning and you just push them in that direction. It's much easier than trying to push them in the opposite direction that they're leaning in. That's how you move human beings. It's very simple. Simple. That's what the Russians did. That's what they did. So they found out what extreme views you already had, and they fed you more of it. Give you some more. 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 Divide and conquer, and it worked like a charm because we elected a gosh darn fool. It is what it is. We are where we are. Good morning to you. All right, listen, I want to talk about the Supreme Court because Joe Biden nominated a black woman to the Supreme Court. And I got a couple questions for you. One question, her name is Kentaji Brown-Jackson. And it looks as if, by all indication, I've not read this anywhere else, that her nomination, she's going to be the first black woman Supreme Court justice. And I think that is huge. And so I got a multi-layered conversation that we'll have, during the evolution of this week and maybe into the near future. But right here, right now, I'm like, yo, check it. Okay, Kamala Harris, first black woman vice president. And of course, we're just talking about positions, but don't they matter? I think they do. And now Joe Biden, he hasn't kept every campaign he hasn't been able to keep every campaign promise. But when it comes to this kind of stuff, he can do it. He don't have to go through the U.S. Senate. Joe Manchin can't do anything about this per se. Right? Judge Kentaji Brown-Jackson. And she's got a deep history. And her confirmation process starts today. There'll be some opening remarks later on this afternoon. And then you'll hear senators going back and forth throughout the rest of the week. The next 2 to 3 days. All indications are that she will be confirmed because the Democrats have a majority. And more than likely, history is going to make history. History is going to make history. More than likely, the first ever black female vice president is going to have to come down and break the tie so that the first black female Supreme Court justice can actually, clear that nomination hurdle. And a lot has been coming out lately about what the Republicans may have on her. I just want to share it with you. You already might be hip to the game, but in case you're not, this is what I do. It's what I do. All right, I want to share this with you this morning so you can get ready for it. A couple of things they're going to attack her on. They're going to attack her on the idea that she's soft on crime. This just goes to show you, okay? This just goes to show you how connected the Republican Party is. Because you hear Republican bigwigs like Joe Dieter saying that shit here in Hamilton County, and it's more than likely going to be brought up in the Supreme Court nomination or Supreme Court confirmation process. These Republicans, man, they when they get the marching orders, they run the marching orders down. I have talked with bigwigs in the local Hamilton County Republican Party who behind closed doors will just give you that look like, I got to play the game, Nate. Now, don't quote me on this. Like, I've had multiple conversations with those dudes. They know it's a game. They know it's a game, but they got to play the game. I've had them say things to me like, when I bring up Trump, they kind of give you a look like, come on, like, I know he's a damn fool, but he's the president. I'll never say this in public. And if you said I said this in public, I'll call you a damn liar. But come on, Nate, I'll be real with you. That's real. A couple times, at least 3 times it's happened. So they're going to try to push her as being soft on crime because that's the new mantra. Democrats are soft on crime. I don't believe it one bit. I don't believe it. Democrats are soft on crime and they're going to make the streets less safe and they're going to break into your house on your cushy little cozy quiet cul-de-sac. They're also going to scrutinize her on her approach to child pornography offenses. I mean, they've been going through everything she's ever done. And apparently, it was not apparently, but GOP Senator Josh Hawley last week, he brought this up saying that she was possibly soft on child pornography crimes. Now, without getting into the weeds of it, apparently there's been some changes on the sentencing guidelines when it comes to child pornography charges, and that's the real reason behind it. But why would I believe that anybody's soft on child pornography? Why would I believe that? It doesn't make any sense. This black woman, I believe she's a mother. She's soft on child pornography. I don't know no black women soft on child. I don't know anybody soft on child pornography. Who's soft on child pornography? But these are some of the kind of games they're going to play with her. She's soft on child pornography. What might even be more and more interesting is they're going to try to figure out what her judicial philosophy is, but that may be hard to ascertain based upon the positions that she's held previous to this. I didn't notice until within the last 24 hours, but apparently she, as a public defender, she represented a Guantanamo Bay detainee. Those people that the United States illegally snatched from the battlefield and put their ass in Guantanamo Bay. We talking about evil? They existed outside of the purview of the Constitution. So basically, the United States did whatever they wanted to do to them, torture these people. Some of them are still locked up right now. And there's another, it was Senator John Cornyn, Texas Republican. You may not know his name, but if you watch these kind of things, you've seen his face before. He's made something out of it, saying something, quote, like, most of the time you have a choice of who your clients are, and sometimes you ought to just say no. Just say no. So now the Republicans, they're going to employ the just say no defense, right? Judge Kentaji Brown-Jackson should not be a Supreme Court justice because as a public defender, she defended a man who, by looking at it now at the long lens of history, how many of these people have been released? The government still has nothing on them whatsoever. I mean, I don't see what the problem is, but I want to hip you to the game as to some of the things you might hear coming from the Republicans. One, she's soft on crime. These Republicans flock together. I give them that. I will give them that. They roll together from the local level to the federal level. They roll together. That language, and to the media. You hear conservative media personalities regurgitating the same thing. That's because they got these mass email blasts that go out. I used to be a part of them. And they literally, on a daily basis give you talking points on what to talk about, references, things like this. It goes to politicians, it goes to activists, it goes to people on the streets, at social media, and it goes to these politicians as well. And these media outlets, these media personalities, they read from this and regurgitate the same thing over and over again. Or they're watching it and they're like, oh, that's what the new word is today. Okay, let me jot this down. Let me get it. Okay, got it. This is the catchphrase. That's why they all sound the same. It ain't just by coincidence. That's coordination. That's coordination. But let's go to the phones. Good morning. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, Nathan Ivey. Man, you are too much, sir.
I am.
Well, first of all, great interview over the weekend with that young lady, that reporter.
Yeah, thank you.
Excellent interview. And Mr. Ivey, when I heard you bring up Kentaji Brown-Jackson, also known as KBJ, she's going to be taking over. She's going to get all the publicity this week. But again, Mr. Ivey, you hit it on the head. This is politics, sir. And it's going to be the usual suspects on the Republican side, on the hard right. They're going to be catering to their constituents. They're going to be raising money, just like the Democrats are going to raise money because they're going to try to start a fight with this strong black woman who is a public defender. And we all know that even criminals deserve to be defended, and she defended some people that some people think should have just been buried under the jail, let alone go to trial. So, again, Mr. Ivey, I loved your monologue on this topic, and hopefully you'll talk about it all week. But the fight that the so-called pundits on the Democrat side are trying to start with this black woman, the first black woman and the second black person, or the third black person to be nominated to the court, of course, Thurgood Marshall, the last public defender, and then, of course, Clarence Thomas, the conservative that was nominated by George H. Bush. Now, again, Mr. Ivey, I appreciate you on this subject, but it's not going to be the fight that you were kind of leading your audience to believe because of the things said by John Cornyn from Texas and Josh Hawley and Marjorie Taylor Greene from Georgia. Those are the usual suspects. And, of course, you're going to get something from the other Republican senators like Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio. But, again, Mr. Ivey, this strong black woman will not receive the same treatment that the Democrats did to the previous Republican nominees on the court. Now, again, our reference is small, but if you go back and look at the last 5 justices that were nominated on the Democrat side, RBJ, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and the 2 other females that are there right now, Kagan and Sotomayor, those women were not destroyed like the 3 other candidates that were put up by Trump. So just to throw some cold water on this whole scenario that you're trying to bring up, Mr. Ivey, it's not going to be that fight. You'll have a couple, like I said, but this woman, this strong black woman, the first strong black woman to be put on the court, will breeze through. She's not going to fall prey to some of the questions, and it's not going to be the big fight that these pundits out here in the media want it to be, to try to bring down the Republican Party right now because they're on top, Mr. Ivey, because there's a lot of Biden remorse out there.
But I said that, Drop. I mean, I said that by all accounts, she's going to be confirmed. My whole point was to give people an update as to what the Republicans are probably going to throw at her. That was the whole point of it.
Yeah, but can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Compared to let's just say the white guy, you know who I'm talking about, Brett Kavanaugh.
Brett Kavanaugh.
The hearing that he went through. Do you recall that?
Of course. I mean, how could we ever forget?
Okay. Right, exactly. And shout out to another strong black woman, Kamala Harris. She cut her teeth in that hearing, and that's what a lot of people want in her right now, but that's another subject. But, Mr. Ivey, do you think that the Republicans are going to go the same way that the Democrats went with Brett Kavanaugh?
Yeah, you know what? Just what I would say is I think you brought up a bad example because Brett Kavanaugh had some very sus things in his background. I still believe that woman. I believe everything she said. I don't think she's going to make that up. She had no reason to put herself in the line of fire. For what reason? And I think the allegation is that he tried to sexually force himself on a classmate, essentially at a party. Isn't that what the allegation was?
Yeah, you're right.
Right. Well, I mean, if that's what the allegation is, it should come out during the Supreme Court confirmation hearing. There are no such allegations that I'm aware about, anything close to that nature when it comes to Kentaji Brown. So,
but again,
that's
Mr.
Brett Kavanaugh's fault. He should not have tried to force himself onto that woman. Period.
But Mr. Ivey, just like they're going to say with Kentaji Brown's hearings, they're going to say that her personal life, her personal beliefs have nothing to do with her interpreting the law in relation to the Constitution. So the way they took this hearing with Brett Kavanaugh for something he did in high school, obviously the advise and consent of the Senate, they felt that he was still qualified to be on the court. So again, Mr. Ivey,
it was strictly partisan.
No, but I'm saying
at that time the Republicans had the majority, correct, in the U.S. Senate. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, that's the only reason why he got elected. Is because they had the majority.
But that's not. Yeah, I get it.
Not elected, but that's
again,
the reason why he was confirmed. Is because they had a Republican majority.
Yes,
I mean,
that's
don't
true.
you think? Maybe we have a difference of agreement here. So for me, I think that if you tried to rape a woman back in high school, then that should be brought up during the Senate confirmation hearing. Don't you agree?
No, because Mr. Ivey, the man was confirmed prior for other positions on the court.
Yeah, but that's not
and
the Supreme
this woman.
Court. That's different.
But hold on, Mr. Ivey. But still, he is a jurist. He sits on the court. It really, yes, the Supreme Court is the highest in the land, but these other lower courts have just as much power. So therefore, if his past, which again, the woman could not. No, Mr. Ivey, I'm not saying that.
That's what it sounds like you're saying.
But Mr. Ivey, a Senate confirmation hearing is not a trial. It is designed to advise and consent.
Right. It's
not a trial.
It's a trial, and the senators are the jurors. That's just what it is.
Not in a confirmation hearing. It is not a trial.
It sounds like what you're saying to me. Here's what I'm hearing. What the story I'm telling myself in my head about what you just said is that rape don't matter.
Mr. Ivey, that was a setup question. That's why I answered it the way I did. I am not that guy. I am not that guy.
I'm asking you, are you saying to
me? I know.
Okay.
And that's why you asked the question the way you asked it.
In high school, should it come up during a Senate confirmation hearing for the highest court, a lifetime position? Should it come up?
If there's evidence, if there was a criminal investigation, if there were police interviews, if there was something to corroborate an allegation like that. A white woman said
it happened. A white woman came forward and said it happened. She had friends.
Mr. Ivey, you need to stop.
Wait here. A white woman came forward, a professional. This woman's a professor. It's all coming back to me now. This woman is a professional, a white female professional. Came forward and testified in front of everybody and told the story. And to back her up, she had friends and family who said that over the years, she has said the same story to them. What more evidence do you need? That's evidence.
Okay, first of all, Mr. Ivey. Now, see, again, you ask these questions, but you asking the wrong guy because I know what I'm talking about. If you remember, Brett Kavanaugh was on the verge of being confirmed. And this so-called professor sent a letter to Dianne Feinstein with these allegations that happened 40-some years ago,
Right.
and Dianne Feinstein stopped the hearing process, forwarded the letter to the FBI, and that's how this whole thing started, Mr. Ivey.
I don't remember all
Get
of that.
the facts.
I'm not saying you're wrong.
Of course you don't
remember how it started.
because you didn't
I
know,
will trust
because
but
you asked
verify,
this
brother.
question. You asked this question about rape.
But that's
because
irrelevant
you
to the
thought
point. You
I'm that
just
guy.
said-
So I'm not.
You're trying
I'm
to
not
get
that
away
guy,
from what you
Mr.
said.
Ivey.
What you
I'm
said.
not getting away from nothing.
Can I tell you? You said that if there is evidence that there was a rape, that it should come up in a Supreme Court confirmation hearing. And I said there was evidence. So we both agree that conversation should have happened before he was confirmed to the Supreme Court. We both agree with that.
Mr. Ivey, first of all, when you say evidence,
Yeah.
you have to put that evidence in context. The evidence was her hearsay. I just told you about the letter that this woman from California sent to her senator, Dianne Feinstein, a Democrat on the Senate.
And if you were
Mr.
her,
Ivey, see,
if you were her,
if you were her, I'm the wrong guy.
and you think that you were almost sexually assaulted by a person
Almost?
that was right, because she said she wasn't raped. That's not. It was. He tried to sexually
You
assault
just
her.
see again. You just accused. You said if there was rape allegation
Yeah.
when you was in high school,
Yeah,
it wasn't
was.
rape.
Yeah,
It
that's what
wasn't.
she was saying.
I told you.
She
it
was saying he
hearsay.
almost raped her. That's what the allegation was. You're trying to muddy the waters. So if you was in that same situation as this professor, you would have did the same thing. If you thought that the perpetrator of potential crime against you was about to be on Supreme Court, you might write a letter to your senator and let them know about it. That's not unusual.
But what was unusual, Mr. Ivey, what was unusual was the action that was taken by Dianne Feinstein and the FBI, which we already know the FBI is corrupt as hell. We already know that. So again, Mr. Ivey, all I'm saying is,
I think it was a bad example. You shouldn't have brought up Brett Kavanaugh as an example.
But
that's where you went wrong,
put the question out
when
there.
you brought him up
put the
to
question.
compare him against Kentaji Brown. That's just a bad comparison right there. That's it was your fault.
The people who are listening and the people who are commenting in the different spaces that the Nathan Ivey Show is attracting, people are hearing this conversation, Mr. Ivey.
I hope so.
So again, a lot of people very rarely hear this opposing point of view. And when you ask me certain questions, Mr. Ivey, I know how to respond, sir.
I know, but it was a bad
and
example.
I will. Yes, it was, because
went
look
to the left. But
but look where we ended up. Look where we ended up. See, that's another one of your tactics. You think you're gonna take me off course? See, I wish I could see your
Let's
face.
see if it works.
Oh, I can't wait.
Let's see if it works,
Mr. Ivey. I can't. See, now, Mr. Ivey, man, you know I love your show, but it's 7:05, and I don't know how long you're gonna be going, but I'm gonna get off.
And when you get off, bro. I appreciate the conversation. You already know.
Yeah, but I'm gonna be tuning in all week, and I'm gonna follow your show.
I hope so.
And I'm gonna get in where I can fit in.
Oh, I'm gonna make a nice little lane for you.
Well, you set it up, because when you said you're gonna be talking about this all week, I can't wait.
Oh,
because
for sure.
it's gonna be proven over the next 4 to 5 days what I just said. How both sides are gonna use this situation to raise money, to try to increase polling, and just on the last word, the situation across the country with the Democrat Party right now, because you spoke earlier about Joe Biden's campaign promises and how most of them have failed, but the ones he has kept his word on were nominating a woman as vice president, which he did with Kamala Harris, and then saying he would put a black woman on the court if a seat came available. And he's done that. But he thinks that these two efforts, and this one being the latest, is going to somehow change the fortunes for the Democrat Party come November. I don't think it's going to help, because in 2022, Mr. Ivey, playing the race card just don't work no more. Drop squad 52. Drop it science to anyone who wants to catch it. Thanks for taking my call, Mr.
Thanks for
Ivey.
making the call, brother. I appreciate you. I disagree with you. I mean, I don't have a lot of time to get in there, but and to really get into it. But I think it will make a difference. It will have an impact. A couple of things to think about, because what we're going to watch later on today is history. So there's a lot of things that go along with this. So never before you're going to see something today that we've never seen before in the modern media era. Let me give you a different way of looking at it. In the modern media era, we've had a lot of Senate, Supreme Court confirmation hearings, but we've never had a black woman as a candidate. So for me, I'm interested in watching how the media reports it. How does new media report this? How does the media react to this? How does social media react to this? This is going to be historic today. It's going to be historic. I want to see how this sister is going to handle herself. How is she going to answer these questions? And then depending on how she handles herself, how does the media process it? That's why I say we'll be talking about it all week long, because it's going to be very interesting. This is historic. Again, never before have we seen this in the modern social media era of the media, where a black woman is going through the confirmation process to be a Supreme Court justice. Now, we've done this for federal judges. We went this through Kamala Harris, VP, but never before for the Supreme Court. So it's going to be theater for folks that, have that kind of sensitivity or interest in those kind of things, such as myself. But it's what I do. I love it. Have an excellent rest of your day, family. Remember our motto: winners focus on winning, and losers focus on winners. So stay focused and stay winning, and we'll talk real soon. And I'm also thinking about moving up the time to start the show. I'm thinking either 7:30 or 7 a.m. I might ease my way back into 7 a.m. by going to 7:30 this week. Why? I want to capture more people. That's all. Simple as that. And I'm up, and I've made some changes in my morning. I think I'm more able to make that time frame. So just don't be surprised if you see that. Look for that. Have an excellent rest of your day, family, and we'll talk real soon.